Good evening, friends. Welcome to Ahmedabad Management Association. On behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, I welcome all of you and Mr. Rajendra Prasad Narla ji also from Tata Archives. Thank you so much coming all the way from Pune. Thank you so much. I just will give a brief introduction about Mr. Narla and then we will listen him. Mr. Rajendra Prasad Narla is the archivist at Tata Center Archives. He has done MPhil, History, Tribal Revolts from University of Hyderabad. In 1988, he has joined Research and Reference Group, Enadu Telugu newspaper as AP Transport Operator cum Agriculturalist. In 1992, he has joined Andhra Jyoti Telugu newspaper, Andhra Pradesh as a Chief of Research Bureau. And in 1999, Mr. Narla has joined Tata Central Archives as an archivist. Apart from this, Mr. Rajendra Prasad Narla has also gained some achievements into academics. Like in 2007, he has done QMS auditor, lead auditor training course, ISO 9000-2000 series, conducted by the CII, Co-Federation of Indian Industry, trained internal assessor by Tata Quality Management Services in the year 2002, which is based on the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Program, USA. He has also participated in the internal assessment of Tata Management Training Center 2003, Department of Economics and Statistics in the year 2004, and the Public Affairs Department 2005 of Tata Services Limited. What I found, sir, in you is that you are most, simple and humble person because we have not been in touch. I met you for the first time, but for the last 1 year, we have been in touch on the phone only. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation to deliver lecture at AMA. I would welcome him with the memento and ask him to deliver us.
No. It's too tall, it comes into the eye. I think the sound system is not necessary. So first, let me thank you for inviting me here, Mr. Ashish and Mr. Umesh Bhai. I mean, I didn't expect an invitation from AMA for an archivist. Usually archivists are not that important compared to the others. And I'm very glad that you invited me here, and I'm very humbled and very thankful to you for that. I'm very bad speaker, to let me be very frank with you. I would like maximum number of questions being thrown at me. I can't be a structured speaker and like something like that. I'll try and tell you something about your Tata Group. I call it your Tata Group because as we talk, you will understand Tata Group doesn't belong to a single person. It belongs to the country. Whatever Tatas do is the nationalistic spirit, and it is always done for the country. So as we talk, what I thought is, why should we have an archives in the first place? Why are archives created? Is it because of the sentimental value that the group attaches to their leaders? Or is there something else? So initially companies could start because of a sentimental value, but then very soon they realize that there is an evidential value to it. Within the Tata Group, I have come across we have solved so many court cases over a period of time. Those court cases are very important. Unless you have preserved your documents, there is no way that you can go to a court and get clearance. So that is some of the court cases that I have, and that is the primary objective. I encourage most of the AMA association members, because the country is on the cusp of becoming a global power, and each company I'm sure is going to be 1,000 crores or a 5,000 crore company. Then you shouldn't look back and say, where are my records? Where are the founders or the Bhumi Puja record? And where are the I have been to several huge companies where there is no photograph of the founder in the foyer, or where there is no photograph of or a bust of the founder. So you will lose it all. And today I take lots of sessions at the RBI and other places, mainly because of the RTI Act. The Right to Information Act had made it compulsory for all the quasi and semi-quasi government organizations to give the information at the click of a button. So if you don't give it, you are penalized. I know several banks who have not maintained their records, especially the Standard Chartered, if I am right, it has been penalized for 200 millions because they didn't maintain their record. So it is essential that we maintain our record. That is the most important thing. And we ourselves have come across so many questions like the Tata University, the Nagpur University Convocation Hall. The Convocation Hall was recently in the sense, in the archival period. When I say recently, it is 10 years back. So it has been renamed. They wanted to change the name of the Convocation Hall. It was named as Jamshedji Tata Convocation Hall. The syndicate said that we have the right to rename it. And when people went to the court, and the syndicate went and told the court, we have every right to rename it. There is no proof that Tatas have paid for the Convocation Hall. So the local people went and met Mr. Tata, and through others also we got queries. Can you prove that the Convocation Hall is being built by Tatas or funded by Tatas? So the moment the query came to us, what we do in the Tata Central Archives is, all the pages that we have, almost all the annual reports of all my companies are there with me. We scan them, OCR them, and we push it into a search engine. So this is like something like a Google search. You just have to go and say Convocation Hall and Nagpur. It will throw up the pages which is there. And we found in 3 of the textile mills, the Central India Spinning and Weaving Mill Company, the Swadeshi Mills and the Ahmedabad Advanced Mills, all the 3 companies pulled together have donated ₹1,00,000 in 1927 to build the Convocation Hall. So the judge was so furious, he immediately gave a dressing down to the syndicate and said, this is not a British name or something colonial hierarchy that you are inheriting. This is all said and done Jamshedji. And without Jamshedji, Nagpur couldn't have been in the center of attraction and those things. How can you do that? So that's how we come to the rescue. And very often serious questions are posed. And some of the cases go into a few thousands of rupees. So you will have to understand why is it necessary to keep your records. Your children may not know. In a group like ours, which is 150 years, unless you institutionalize the knowledge, no single individual will remember. I am sure J.R.D. Tata won't remember the entire thing, nor does Ratan Tata know the entire 150 years. So you will have to institutionalize that knowledge, and for the coming generations, it is more than losing the court case, it is a face-saving thing. A group like ours can't have done something so stupid and be on the wrong side of the law. So that is essential. That's why we maintain those records. Again, a few years back, you know Kairnar in Bombay. Kairnar was on a spree pulling down illegal buildings. So he came to Bombay House one day and he said the Bombay House basement shouldn't be having a canteen. He wanted to pull down the canteen. So immediately Dr. Baba was around, J.J. Baba. He said, I got a permission from the municipal commissioner in 1949. I could imagine a 1949 document being asked by in around 2009 or 2008. Where will you find the document immediately? So he said, give me some time. So Kairnar said, since you are Tatas, I believe you. I'll come back at 2 o'clock. Get the paper ready by then. By 2 o'clock, he is expecting a paper which is 50, 60 years old. So we had a call from the Bombay House. We went and searched for those things. And this is the photograph which I kept it here. That is from Tata Mantri Bulletin, if you notice. The Tata Mantri Bulletin is an in-house magazine of the Tata Group, which reported that we have got permission from municipal authorities and this is how the canteen is going to look like. So we gave this to Kairnar and said, we don't expect in 2060 years later we'll come and pull it down. But this is the story that is published and which very clearly says the municipal commissioner's permission has been sought. So he agreed with this and he went back. So these are the important things that happen. And Tata Power is a classical case. Tata's had a huge problem with Tata Power because we were, after liberalization, we were supplying power out of central Bombay. We were supposed to be restricted to central Bombay. And once liberalization came up and when we were supplying power out of central Bombay, there was a court case saying that Tatas can't come out of central Bombay and supply power. So the court case was supposed to be, final hearing was due in a couple of weeks when we saw it in the newspapers, and we informed the chairman's office saying that, sir, this case is won by us in 1907. There is no point in fighting this case again. So they were very amused. They said, how do you know that? So one of our Tata employees on a holiday, when he was in England, he went to the British archives and what we call it as the India Office Library. So he went to the archives there and he asked for all the Tata documents. And in those documents, Tata Power case documents were there. He collected it, he brought the films from there and the prints. And along with the bills which were paid, the whole thing was preserved in the archives. And it said that when BEST, the British company, went to court against the British government saying that Tata shouldn't be given permission, basically because in 1905 BEST was given permission. And before they could do the Bhumi Puja and drive their first stake into the soil, Tatas were also given permission. So they took objection saying that is there market for two people, two companies, and each one will be killing each other in the competition. So they want the British government to cancel the Tata permission, license. So the BEST took the British government to court. They lost it in the High Court, they lost it in the Supreme Court, and the same case was referred to the Privy Council, that is the House of Lords in England, like our Raj Sabha. They lost it there. So having lost at three places, they came back to the Tata Group and said, let's have a gentleman's agreement. So you confine yourself to the central Bombay, we will do business around Bombay. That was a gentleman's agreement. 100 years later, when the liberalization happened and we were expanding, people said that you can't move out of central Bombay. That wasn't the case. So when we showed these papers, the lawyers said, no, we were fighting on similar lines, now we will go with conviction. And when somebody goes and fight with conviction, that adds to your strength. So that's how we won the case, and it saved a lot of money, face-saving thing. And once we have done that, the group understood the value of the archives. So imagine the amount that saved. Peanuts could have been spent every year on the archives. The next 30, 40 years bill has already been paid for the archives. So we were trying to institutionalize that knowledge. It's not driven by a single individual. To institutionalize that knowledge, we started digitization programs. We started those search engines. Now, thanks to Mr. new Chairman Chandrasekhar, he helped us with a new software called Adobe, which is very expensive. Archives on its own couldn't have been afforded it, but tech-savvy people, and they came forward and said, Narla, you should use this. So we are pushing everything into it. I have pushed in already about 10 lakh plus documents. All are on search engine. You just, any Boolean operator or a string of words can be searched. So tomorrow I'm there or not, things should come out. But there is a catch. Artificial intelligence or machine won't retrieve all the documents. For example, very often I get research scholars asking me about pollution control in 1900 and those things. The word pollution control board and these things didn't exist. The terminology was not there. So if you have to search for pollution control in 1900s or 1920s, you should go and search for smoke nuisance committees. So the word is totally different. So this is very misleading. At times, that's where the human touch still comes in. It is necessary. Yeah? So these are the earliest in-house magazines, and we have all the in-house magazines of the Tata Group. Major companies, I can't say all the 600 companies or 1,000 companies have deposited their records with me. What we do is we target companies. In the sense, if a company is coming to a milestone, 100 years of Tata Power, 75 years of Tata Chemicals, 75 years of Tata Motors, we target those companies, we approach them, we request them, and we put a bait. We go and tell them we will add value to your records if you give it to us. And how do we add value to them? We scan them, OCR them, put it on a search engine so that it adds value to them. And there is no janjet for them to maintain in a temperature and humidity control for every company to have its own archives. We are in the central archives, you can give it to us. The hard copies will be with us. We can give you the soft copies and you can make use of the soft copies. That's what we do. So it is essential that we maintain all our correspondence, the very initial ones. By the way, I have about 2.5 lakh photographs. The biggest challenge is captioning them. Today, there is nobody to tell me what a 1907 or 1911 photograph, what puja is it is. Is it Satyanarayana Puja? Is it Vishwakarma Puja? Who are the people in it? There is no captioning. So that will be a challenge. So when we start early and we start doing this, it is very easy in the future to make sure everything is in place. Make a small beginning, it is essential, and you will be there. So that is the most important thing. And this is the search engine that I am using, which I have been referring to. And today, that's again, if you don't capture the moments what we are creating now, you are creating history. Remember that. J.R.D. Tata, he became the chairman in 1938. From day one, he knew that he was creating history. Being half a Frenchman, he was a very good archivist. It's a delight to the archivists because he kept his records in picture perfect condition. I don't need to do any work on them. He had a subject index, he had an alphabetical index, he had a master file, every letter that goes off it, and all of them systematically maintained. So anything to refer to J.R.D. Tata, if somebody says my father wrote a letter to J.R.D., you will immediately get it. There is no chance of missing it. So, and you'll have to capture movements that were created now. If you don't do it, then posterity will find it very difficult. So capture history as it is being created. That is the most important thing.
How letters have been preserved? I mean, say for example, J.R.D. Tata must have received letter in 50s or 40s.
Right from 1945, we preserved the letters. I think in between for one bunch got lost somewhere. We don't know. But right from 1945, right from 1913, when he was going to school, he was brought up in France. So his father insisted that he should learn proper English. So J.R.D. was insisted upon to write to his father in English, and his father would correct the English language and send it back to J.R.D. So we have his school timetable. We have J.R.D.'s letters which were written in 1913 when he was hardly 10 years old, 1914. So all those letters also J.R.D. preserved. So, and again, Tatas usually, majority of the people, the officers in the Tata group are ex-ICS officers or ex-army. So an ICS officer, there is an official record keeping system in the government. And then in the army also there is an official record keeping system. So these people followed that. And the record keeping is meticulous, very meticulous in Tata group. And when it comes to JRD, I think J.R. Junk was Tata International MD in New York. The gentleman had the habit of dictating 4 or 5 subjects in one letter. So J.R.D. writes to him one day, says, I've been repeatedly keep telling you not to put in 4 subjects in one letter. Remember, in those days there was no Xerox or photocopying. So where do you file that letter? If he files it in Taj Hotels, Tata Steel is getting lost. So he tells him, if you are in the habit of dictating all of them together, give standing instructions to your secretary so that she types 4 different letters, so that they go into 4 different ones. So meticulous he was. That made life easy for me, to be very frank. So everything is there. There's no question of one is here and one is not, nothing get lost.
Preserving of such papers of those years.
Yes, and then the challenge is the typist should be very active till 5:30 in the evening, because if she is typing 4 copies, 1 plus 1 plus 1, by the evening if she is tired and she doesn't press the key strong enough, then the alphabet could be faint. And when you OCR it, A can turn out into O. So those will be the challenges in that. But in spite of that, he kept 4 records. All the 4 have come to us when after he passed away, when we went into his office, the Almiras had systematically kept all the 4 records. And we didn't need to do anything. Just bring them here, scan and OCR them and keep it. And even his secretary's letters. When he is absent in country or he is on traveling, all his secretary's correspondence is also kept like that. So we know every day where JRD is, where he has been, what he has been doing. See, very few companies will be able to achieve that level because you are very open, ethical, and JRD believes in openness. And the problem is, during JRD's time, there is no social media, no email, no WhatsApp, and telephone lines are pretty bad. So he was a prolific letter writer, and most of his letters run into 2 to 3 pages. And the number of letters that he has written during his lifetime go up to 77,000 pages. So all of them are there. So that is the way he kept it. That is essential. And so many people come and ask us what happened here, what happened then. My grandfather was here. So very often I get claims which not have been done. So somebody will come up and say, it was my grandfather who built the Taj. And the Taj website doesn't have my grandfather's name. How do we substantiate it? So you'll have to dive back into the records. His grandfather was a young student or an apprentice or a new person who is from the architectural background. He was assisting. So the claims will be keep coming up in different ways. So we'll have to, those are not very serious. It's more of a sentimental thing. But something on a very serious level like the Tata Power case or something like that comes, then it involves lots of money. That's essential. See, I put this photograph here because the statue that you see is from Ahmedabad. So the Ahmedabad Advanced Mills was one of the mills started by Jamshedji Tata. Jamshedji started the Central India Spinning and Weaving Mill, which is called the Empress Mill. You have one more Empress Mill somewhere in Gujarat near Surat side, but that Empress Mill and the one in Nagpur, not one and the same. So the Nagpur Mill is basically Central India Spinning, Weaving and Manufacturing Company Limited. It was inaugurated or opened on January 1st, 1877 when Queen Victoria was declared as the Empress of India. So it got the nickname Empress. So this mill is in Ahmedabad Advanced Mills. You should be knowing better where the mills existed. And it was Jamshedji's friends who were taking some loans from Jamshedji, hand loans, and at the end of the day, they were unable to pay back the money. So they came to Jamshedji and said, we are not able to pay it, so please take the mill. So that's how the mills came to him. And when he took the mills, though the name is Advanced Mills, there was one of the most obsolete machinery and very bad machinery. So Jamshedji has to scrap all the machinery and make it really advanced for the next 2 years, pumping in lots of money into it. And the mill survived for about a few years. Let's say, thanks to the government of India, MRTP Act and the managing agency system, which didn't allow during that, what we call the socialistic phase, none of the companies are allowed to produce 100%. All the companies are given a limit. They say if your company can produce 100 tons, the government act said you can't produce more than 40 or 60. So none of the mills were working at the full throttle. So the advanced mills and all the textile mills in Bombay, they were all shut down. NTC has to come and take it up. And Tatas themselves has got out of the textile industry in spite of the whole money and the background is the textile mills. So when we got out of the mill, this mill was sold. The new management which bought the mill, they said, sir, what should we do with the Jamshedji Tata's bust here? They asked Mr. Tata and Mr. Tata said, send it to the archives. Now, the truck driver who brought the bus to me into the archives, early morning by about, he arrived in Pune very early and by the time we came to office, a truck was parked outside my office. I said, why is the truck here? And the driver came to us and said, sir, Baba ko laya. Why is the Baba coming into the archives now? I called the driver and said, who is the Baba that is coming in? He said, sir, I'm trying to figure out the address of the archives Everybody said that you are towards the Osho ashram. And as he entered the TMTC, Tata Management Training Center, we maintained the heritage structure of the place. So no 1+1 rooms, all first floor, ground floor only. And all of them look like a kutir or something like a ashram kind of thing. And it's a 15-acre plot for management trainees. And there are either side their rooms. And as he came down, the kutir style of thing, he thought must be some other ashram here. He came and said, Baba ko laya. I said, what else make you think that it is a Baba? He said, at the township where the advanced mills were there, they were about 2,500 to 3,000 people, sir. All the workers came and lifted it and loaded into the truck. None of them took any money. And all the children and women were crying as the bust was being loaded into the truck. Why would somebody cry for an ordinary man? So this is a bust in 1953 when the mills completed 50 years. All the employees pooled their money together and got a bust of Jamshedji done. This is either an Italian marble or Spanish marble. And this is left open in the open elements. So the bird droppings and those things unattended, there were lots of damage on the bust. But the bust is by the employees out of their love. So this is the second time that it happened. The Bombay House has one bust of Jamshedji Tata, he was born in 1839, and in 1939 they created one bust for him. So it's something like that. This is all because of, this is the photographs when the first bust was there at the advanced mills. So this is the history that we are trying to create. And we have to capture the story because sometimes some of the stories are very strong. And this is the bust which was there in Bombay House. And this is the Ahmedabad advanced mills. So I told you about the MRTP Act and the damages that it causes, and the socialistic pattern of economy. So that is the socialistic pattern of economy has did the maximum damage. And then what we went through is the MRTP system and the managing agency. Again, when we come to the managing agency system, what happened was, because of the MRTP Act and managing agency system, we were not allowed to grow vertically, in the sense that Tata's share in most of our own companies is less than double digit. Like in the case of Tata Steel, believe me, if Tata's share in Tata Steel is 2.6%, and Birla's had more than 6% through Pilani Investments, how do you survive in this world? And if there is a hostile takeover, like it happened in those days with Swaraj Pal taking over Escorts, where do you stand? If some big conglomerate wants to come and buy you out, 2.6%, 5%, 7%, it's very easy to buy you out. That was brought to JRD's attention by Ratan Tata. And Ratan Tata, when he wrote the strategic document in 1984, he said, Jay, this is not going to happen. If there is a hostile takeover, we won't survive. So JRD turned to him and said, why do you consider we as competitors to somebody? We are a trust-run company. We are here to do service. We are not competitors to anybody. So Ratan Tata said, sir, you have the charisma to keep the whole group together. The day you are not around, it would be easy for anybody to overtake us. So the biggest challenge, based on those words, JRD made him the chairman. In 84, he made him the chairman of Tata Industries. Later on, he made him the chairman of Tata Sons. And the greatest challenge that Ratan Tata's achievement is, very often people don't know, they think of several other things, not taking a company from 30,000 crores to 6 lakhs crores or whatever it is the amount today. But this is the greatest challenge. Imagine to move Tata Steel from 2.6% to 30%. The amount of shares and the amount of money, it is sheer mind-boggling. That is his greatest achievement. The other achievement I will touch upon as we go. This is the strategic plan that Ratan Tata gave it to JRD. That was the plan that he created it and gave it to him. You go back. Yeah. So this is when JRD stepped down in favor of Ratan Tata and handed over. So why are we studying this history? If it is Jamshedji Tata and all the stories, the whole story goes back to Jamshedji. Why are Tatas venerated so well in the country, or why do we treat them as so highly? So it starts right from day one, when they were in Navsari, and Nusrawanji Tata, their father, he was married at the age of 5. He was born in 1822. He got married in 1827. And by the time Nusrawanji was 17 years of age, Jamshedji Tata is born. And by the time Jamshedji Tata went to college, Elphinstone College in Bombay, Jamshedji was all but 17 years of age, and the first war of independence was going on. And you can imagine what undeniable mark that it have left on Mr. Tata's mind. Today when we have Anna Hazare movement or a movement, spring movement kind of thing, we are all impressed by that. So things like that will left a very deep impact on those people. And I will show you later how they have transformed the whole group. So I'm just trying to show you some rare photographs. Again, if we don't have this history, it is very difficult. This is a very simple house where Jamshedji is born. It is in Navsari. So the archives maintains that house. This is the exhibition, we put it up in the house. So Jamshedji started his career in 1877. He made very few speeches. And most of the quotations that we ascribe to Jamshedji, some of the words are not said by him. So we have to keep on correcting people, saying that those words are not said by Jamshedji, nor by JRD, nor by Ratan Tata. Very often these are misquoted because of the social media. They are very popular and they are rolling about. Jamshedji made a very rare speech in 1895. I think it's one of the only speech that we have in the archives. So it gives the entire philosophy of the Tata group there. Based on that, we've moved on. Yeah, shall I move? So later on, what Jamshedji did was, he delegated his work to others, but initially he started working on this. Believe me, he had pension scheme in 1886, accident compensation in 1906 and 1924, apprenticeships. All these things which were unheard of in those days. By the time the British government actually brought in a law, we were 50 years before them. All these things were started by him, and he believed in technology, innovation. So this is a machine which is a ring spindle, which was a new invention in the technological field, and the Britishers were not willing to use it. The Lancashire mills or Manchester mills, they just refused to use it. And one of Jamshedji's employee, he was Brooksby, I think. He was on a holiday in America. He saw the machine. He brought 2 of them to Nagpur. For 2 years they tried and tested it. They were doing some experimenting on it. They found a traveler. There is a thread which goes round and comes back, which is called a traveler. If it moves at fast speeds, the thread breaks. So they made some adjustments for 2 years after personally working on it. And they started ordering lakhs of ring spindles. And the ring spindle, I have given the revolutions per minute. It used to go 9,500, 6,000, 9,500. And at times it touched even 12,000. So that is the innovative mind right from those days to the current chairman. Innovation has been the key of the Tatas. So the innovation is, we have just come out of COVID. There is COVID, what we call it as the vaccine hesitancy. And nobody would come forward and take vaccine today. Imagine what would it have been in a date like 1898. In the 1898, when there was a bubonic plague in Bombay, 18,000 people died only in the city of Bombay. Nobody was coming forward to take the new system of vaccine created by Dr. Hafkin. He's a Russian boy who created a new system of vaccination. So Jamshedji wanted to set example to others. He came forward and took the vaccine several times. And it so happened, his son, elder son Dorabji's marriage was proposals were going on, and the marriage party traveled all the way from Mysore to Bombay. And when the marriage party arrived at Bombay at Jamshedji's house, a vaccination session was going on. So he made all the marriage party to stand in line and take a shot. So they objected to it. He said, no, you are an officer of education in the Mysore state government. You should set example. And the gentleman was Homi Baba, Hormuzji Baba, the grandfather of Homi Baba and Dr. J.J. Baba. So that's how the marriage proposal and those things went. So I wanted to bring that after the COVID and those things. And there were several first in, we thinking about cold storage plants. Jamshedji had an idea. Sericulture. It is a Japanese sericulture. When he went to Japan, he brought the entire sericulture back to India. Today the whole KSIC silks, all the sericulture in India owes their origins to Jamshedji. He brought a team of husband and wife team, did those things. He had a cinematographer at home. You know, Bombay is comprised of 7 islands. He thought of creating Venice in Bombay. He almost had 1 lakh acres in Bombay. So with that land, he wanted to create Venice there. But there were so many things that were happening. He bought the first motor car probably. And he wanted Indians to do themselves, Indianization. He didn't want the Britishers to do it. He wants Indian to learn those things, and he wanted to follow the Indianization process. I don't know how many of you are cine buffs. I'm really not aware. If anybody of you seen the movie Inception, in the movie Inception, as the movie starts, in the first few lines, he asks, which is the biggest virus in the world? And he says, an idea planted in a human mind. Like in Othello's case, he puts a doubt in his mind. Similarly, an idea planted in a human mind is very powerful. So, it is the mentality is what we call in history as Lucien Febvre or Annals and those books. They call it as mentalities. You'll have to address the mentalities. So, J.R.D. Tata in 1959, to celebrate Dorab Tata centenary, he started the J.R.D. Dorab Tata Memorial Lecture Series. He used to go, J.R.D. was to travel all over the world. He used to come across brilliant minds. He used to invite them to India and ask them to go to all the 4 metropolitan cities and speak to the students and give lectures to all the intelligentsia there. And you plant an idea. An idea that comes of age, nobody can stop it. So those seeds were planted throughout the country. And those seeds grew into ecstatics. The ecstatics is one of the lectures by a gentleman, how to build towns and cities. So he was talking on those lines in as early as 1959, 1960. It continued till Rudy Giuliani, and we had Amartya Sen coming and giving those lectures. So every year they used to do that, just to bring in new ideas into these things. And when Ratan Tata inherited the chairmanship, the challenge for Mr. Tata is, we have just coming out of a socialistic pattern of economy. Liberalization is round the corner. And if you are not nimble-footed and if you are not agile, an organization the size of Tata's just can go down. What should he do to bring about a mindset change in the people? Without mindset change, things wouldn't fall in place. So he was wondering what is the catalyst or the agent to bring that. And fortunately, Tatas were part of Honeywell Group. There was a subsidiary and we had a joint venture. Honeywell was writing an application through Malcolm Baldrige. He came across that application. People brought it to his notice. Then he wrote to the Malcolm Baldrige people. We took permission from them. And last year, we completed 25 years of our association with Malcolm Baldrige. So they were so happy. Now they are called us as the founder members. They have given that to the Tatas. And they have 1,000 points. It's like an exam. Every company will have like your CAA exam. Every company will have to fill in that form. They will have to score a certain thing. And Tatas have added 100 marks more to it on ethical grounds, corporate governance. So we have added more to it. And that is made compulsory for every mid-level employee. After that, you will notice the change in the Tata Group attitudes. Attitude in the sense the employees have to be aware of those things. That a chairman won't be able to deliver everything. It is at the end of the day, it is the common man and the employee, unless he shares the same vision and those things, we won't be here today where we are. So they'll have to educate the common man. That's what he did. And then we have the Tata Tea and Jagore advertisements. Through advertisements also, the Jagore advertisements are very unique. You'll have to bring about a change. And then the blood donation, I put it there. When I was doing Tata Motors 70 years or 60 years and 75 years exhibition, when I went to Jamshedpur, I noticed that the whole country, around 2005, had 40 people who have donated blood more than 100 times. And Jamshedpur alone had 22 people. How come that change come about? Because it's a mindset. You are addressing the mentalities. You are telling them there is nothing wrong in donating blood. Very often people shy away from donating blood. So that is one of the things. And today, thanks to our new chairman, Ms. Chandra, every company has got a technology office now. Everything is looked into it. That's why you come across, I'm sure in the next few years you will see lots of new technology pumped into every, like the cars, the number of models that come up. You see that because it's a product that you're looking at. I know I attend some of the sessions. The boiler that you have at Tata Steel can be replicated in digital format, and they can see exactly where the boiler is going wrong. So all the data is fed, the technological changes, it's on a cusp. I'm telling you, there is going to be huge technological shift after Chandra has taken over. It's going to be phenomenal. And I won't be the right person because I'm not a technology officer. Being an archivist, maybe my predecessors and those people are the future people who come in there. They will record those things. Yeah, I brought in the Swadeshi mill basically because very often when people do charity, we have an attitude saying, let me earn like a Tata or Birla, then I will do charity. Charity, I can't do it now. I am not so rich. So I brought this one specifically here. When the Swadeshi mills was come up for sale, it came at 1/16th at its price. And people told Mr. Jamshedji Tata, sir, that is a jinxed mill. Don't even touch it with a barge pole. Don't go anywhere near it. He didn't believe in superstition. He went and bought the mill. And the mill was a disaster in the initial years. It was taking his best people, best brains and those things. The stress was so huge on him. And he needed to pump in more money into it and more capital. He didn't have the money. So he approached the banks for fresh loans. The bank said, sir, you have written your family deed. So once the family's deed is written, we can't give you any more money to you. So he went and broke the family deed. The family trust deed that he wrote was broken and money was pumped into the mill. Believe me, the important thing here is the stress was so huge on him. One day while going through the factory premises, he had a seizure kind of attack. He fell down on the floor of the factory, something like he's not an epileptic, but he has got a seizure. People tried to revive him. Everybody tried their thing. But for the rest of his life, it is said that the mill's machines, he used to keep hearing the machines in his ears. So that is the stress factor that they underwent. It is not that they did all those charities. It is tough. I mean, you have to have the heart to do it, not to be earned like a Tata or a Birla. So the same thing which I put it back again, saying that it is important that you have the right mindset. These are some of the rare photographs that he did at the Empress Mills and these textile mills. Maternity benefits. And see the next image. They had a crush at Empress Mills in 1919. So, if he is a pure money-making machine, he doesn't need to do all those things. They were not made compulsory by law till the next 50 years. He did all those things. That is the most important thing. And while he was around, the only 3 textile mills were achieved and he built the Taj. Other than that, he didn't do anything else. Yeah. So, after achieving these 3 things, he had huge ideas for Tata Power, Tata Steel and IISc. So his children, his successors, they went and achieved those things. So this is the Taj. Before Carrier invented air conditioning, Taj had a 1.5 ton CO2 ice making factory. So the ice is to be made there and the cold air is to be blown into the rooms. This was before Carrier came about with air conditioning. So that is the innovative thing that he did. I am not very sure, it's much later. And he had another idea. Today, where the Prince of Wales Museum or the CSMVS is there, he wanted to build a huge bungalows there. He wanted to have a theatre, and there is to be an ice making factory in the center, so that you had an air cooled theatre on one side. We had some fish and those things, storage facilities, all new ideas. But unfortunately, didn't have the time to go and implement them. I don't know how many of you are aware of Ben Jonson. Anybody knows Ben Jonson here? So there are two Ben Jonsons. One is the guy a couple of decades back. He was a 100-meter sprint runner who ended up with taking drugs, and he was banned from, after winning a couple of Olympic golds, he was banned. I'm not referring to that Ben Jonson. There is a Ben Jonson who was a contemporary of Shakespeare. So none of us know about that Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson was such a great author. Shakespeare was in awe of him. Shakespeare used to go and act in Ben Jonson's dramas. Shakespeare used to take lines from Ben Jonson and put it in his own stories, all his works. And Ben Jonson earned more fame and money than Shakespeare. Today, none of us remember Ben Jonson. We all know Shakespeare. Why? Because Shakespeare transcends time. He transcends geography. It is said that Freud learned so much from Shakespeare, and the entire Freudian analysis and those things, he must have read Shakespeare and learnt it from him. So Shakespeare, it transcends all time, geography, human feelings. That's why he's so popular today. 400 years after his death, we still study Shakespeare. Why I said those is, the philosophy followed by Jamshedji Tata, or the ideas that he followed, are as relevant today as they were 150 years back. That's why we remember Jamshedji Tata. That's why he is important to us. So this is the four partners. I won't go into it, we'll be short of time. How they started the Tata Steel. And when they started Tata Steel, when he was prospecting for licenses, today we talk about environment. He is giving an undertaking for every tree that is cut down, he will plant 2 trees in place. That's a letter in 1900. So imagine the environmental consciousness of the man. Similarly, when he started the Tata Power, Jamshedji had his own textile mills running on steam and coal. And the steam and coal were creating so much of soot in Bombay city. The entire Bombay city had got about 55 cotton mills, all running on steam and creating so much of soot and dust. So he knew how much pollution they are creating. That's why I said the Smoke Nuisance Committee. So he wanted cheap and clean labor. That's how the Tata Power has come up. And Jamshedji himself started donating. 1892, he started a Jain Tata endowment. He wanted to send people abroad to go and prepare for their ICS. So one of the persons who has gone to become the Jain Tata endowment scholar and a doctor was Dr. Jeevaraj Mehta, the first Chief Minister of Gujarat. So if you see, his name will be there. 1909, Dr. Jeevaraj Mehta is there. And since we talked about Dr. Jeevaraj Mehta, since I'm in Ahmedabad, Dr. Jeevaraj Mehta was also a personal doctor to Sir Ratan Tata, the present Ratan Tata's grandfather. Ratan Tata is named after his grandfather. So he was not keeping well and is being taken to England for treatment. And in those days, during the First World War, their ship was torpedoed in the Mediterranean Sea. Like you see in the movie Titanic, all of them have to jump into the icy cold waters. Going down the ropes, their fingers were cut. They were in the icy cold waters for about 1.5 to 2 days till rescue teams came and took them. Everybody had pneumonia kind of thing. We know that Jayavaraj Mehta suffered with pneumonia for next couple of years or 5-6 years, and it was very painful for him. So I thought I should bring that to your notice. So you can see Jayavaraj in the round. Just put one of the photographs from the archives where we have Jayavaraj Mehta there. Yeah, Sir Ratan. And the important thing here is when Sir Ratan Tata, when he died, he wrote a will in 1913. And when he died in 1918, according to his will, the entire property, there is battery low. So the entire property that he had is left into a trust. And the trustees can only spend on philanthropic activities. So the entire property that he had is left into a trust. No single individual can take home the money. And the trust will says, today we talk about Melinda Gates and Bill Gates talking about sanitation. He writes in the trust about sanitation in those days. So something very phenomenal. Following him,
Sir Ratan Tata was the father of Ratan Tata.
grandfather. Because what happened was when Sir Ratan Tata died, there was no male child to do the last rites as per the Parsi thing. So they were searching for a suitable boy. So Dorab Tata was given the charge of finding a suitable boy to go and adopt somebody. So he went around searching for a suitable boy, and he went to an orphanage, the Petit Orphanage, and found Naval Tata, who was his cousin sister's son. The brothers having lost their own sister, their mother's sister's children were Naval Tata's brothers, 5 of them. They were all in the Petit Orphanage. So when Dorabji was given the power to go and search for a suitable boy, he went to the orphanage and he saw Naval Tata, all but 11 years of age, in shorts and without chappals going round. So he advised Lady Naujbai Tata to adopt him. So typically, like women in those days, she was in mourning for about a year and she didn't come out of the house. And she was in England at that time. And the day she returned to India, Naval Tata was picked up from the orphanage and taken to Tata Palace. Now the Tata Palace that we call is a misnomer, because the original Tata Palace was built by Nusrawanji, Jamshedji's father, in Walkeshwar Road. We couldn't find it. We did all our best with several architects and others in Bombay. We couldn't find that place. But the house that we are referring to is the house which holds the Dutch Bank and the Sterling Theatre. That's now become the Tata Palace. That's where they are. This is one of the K.R. Narayanan, who went on to become a giant Tata scholar. He went on to become the President of India. So he received a scholarship from from Tata Scholarship. So I will skip these things. Today, when Umesh Bhai and Ashish were taking me around AMA, I found something very interesting. See, when Jamshedji gave 1/3 of his money, when he wrote a will, he divided his property into 3 halves. He gave half of it to the Indian Institute of Science and other to his children. So when the Indian Institute of Science was to be named, everybody said, let us name it as a Tata Institute. He said, no. The moment you append my name to it, other donors will become secondary. So my name shouldn't be appended to it. This is for the country. And it should be as an Indian university. So it is named as Indian Institute of Science. Today if you go to Bangalore, if you ask the taxi guy or somebody, take them to the Indian Institute, they won't understand. You'll have to tell them, please take me to the Tata Institute, they'll take you there. So that is the thing. Similarly, he said, I don't want any title for myself. Similarly, when the New India Assurance, New India, by the way, belonged to Tatas. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. New India Assurance was started by Tatas in 1919. It was started with the help of Prudential, the Prudential Bank in England, and they wanted to name it as Tata Prudential. So Dorabji Tata, who was there, he said, no, this is for New India. It is not for me. So they call it's not Tata Prudential, it was given New India Assurance. Yeah, that is the story there. And it was before being nationalized, it has presence in 46 countries. So this is the family crest of the Jamshedji Tata, Humata Hukta and Hurashta, which means good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The children who took over after Jamshedji, they are the ones who took the company to the next level. Women played a very predominant role in the Tatas. Navajbai Tata is the one who brought up Ratan Tata now, and she was the first director on Tata Sons. She was there in that capacity for almost 40 years. So Meherbai Tata is a very strong lady. She used to play tennis in a sari. She won about 80 tournaments, and these are all the companies that were started after Jamshedji passed away by the children. And this I want, most of the women who are in the room, I want you to read that quotation there. Done? Shall I move? Okay. So here is the photograph of Meherbai Tata. She was supposed to play mixed doubles at Wimbledon. They had debentures of Wimbledon and box seats at Wimbledon in those days. And this is one of the photograph from the Gaikwad here. So I thought, since it belongs to this part, and Baroda, I thought of showing that figure. And Dorabji himself, before he died in 1932, he left everything into a trust. And as I said, when Jamshedji had lot of stress, this is an important letter written by Dorabji Tata. He is also under so much of stress, way back in 1905. If you read the highlighted part, the very sight of a letter makes me feel inclined to take a stick and go for the writer. Because he is asked to take rest, he goes to England, all the problems follow him. He says, I don't have any children. What am I doing? Can't I take break? That is the kind of stress that they underwent. And Padsha, whom he is writing to, Padsha says, we are not doing it for us. We are not doing it for Tatas. We are doing it for the country. Please bear with us. And he keeps on telling them to do that. So finally, I want to stop here because I can go on for the next 1 hour with J.R.D. Tata and Ratan Tata. So this is the charitable trust. Both the brothers left their entire, the fortune into trust. So the trust comprises of 66% of Tata Sons. So today, Ratan Tata can work any number of hours when the managing agency system is taken away. JRD can work any number of hours. But the commission that they will get is to the tune of percentage of shares they hold in the company. Like if it was 2.6%, no managing agency fees. They will get 2.6% dividends. So that is where the trust work, and all the profits go to the trust. The entire dividends that Tata Sons earns go to the trust, and the trust can only spend on philanthropic activities. And we have seen what the trusts have done. TISS, Tata Memorial Cancer Hospital, TIFR, all the money goes into those things. And then GRD comes onto the scene. So let me give you a break. Again, it will be 1 hour from here. So I'm not comfortable talking monologue all the time. So if you have any doubts, please let me know. Anything current or anything that you would like to know. This will be an interesting one. Why do you need to keep your old records? Just read that one. It's a fantastic code of conduct written in 1921. We don't give it out. All these photographs are copyrighted by the archives, so I'll have to seek permission every time I use it. But that is recorded right now. So, yes. So, let me run through it, and I may not have time, but I will show you one or two things which are important. This is important because when JRD started his career, unfortunately, he couldn't go for higher education. JRD has to stop his education after plus two. He didn't get a chance to go and do his engineering at Cambridge. His father called him back. And throughout his life, JRD suffered that inferiority complex, not having a proper education. And he was elected as chairman in 1938 at the age of 34. And imagine somebody like Bill Gates heading a company of Tatas at that time. So he used to work very hard. And this is what we see is by 1952-53, he is elected as the best management man award in Milwaukee in America. So the most outstanding international management of the year. How did he get there? Without education, he used to read books and books on management, which were very scarce in those days. He used to read those books. He used to keep an open ear, listening to his friends, learning from what they're talking. And that's what he achieved such a great length. So human development is the most important thing that he learned, and he used to value his people. This is a unique letter where to Sumant Mulgaonkar he says, I think by bringing you into the company, I have earned my salary for the next 25 years. Just bringing Sumant Mulgaonkar into the team. So these are some stories that are there. It takes a very long time. So this is one which I like most. I want you to read this. This has been the philosophy of the entire group. Shall I move? So this is again at Fansa in Gujarat, where Dora Tata Trust gave 240 acres for training the blind people who learn agriculture there. So it's a very important thing in that place. She's Lady Naujbai Tata, who brought up Ratan Tata, his grandmother. Yeah. So I'm moving these things. We know the story. That this I will stop here again. So when Tatas moved from Singur, when they came to Sananand, the land that was given to him is important. Yeah, when they went into the land, they found this small stupa kind of thing erected there. What they noticed there is, in 1899, there was a huge famine in Gujarat, and people were dying left, right, and center. There was nobody to feed the cattle. Cattle was dying in large numbers. So Jamshedji Tata donated 1,000 rupees in those days. So his name is there, his donation. 1,000 rupees to buy 100,000 acres and to grow grass of that specific variety. And Kakrish breed cattle were dying. So the grass was grown and they were fed. This is the very land that came to Tata's rescue at Sananand when they went. So the first thing I have to call up Tata Motors and tell them is, don't lose that stupa while building everything. Create a traffic island around it and make sure that it's protected. So that's important. So I thought I will share it with you.
Is it at
Sananand. Yes? Yes. That was the land which Jamshedji donated 1,000 rupees in 1899. See, very often we say everybody should have a vision in life. Without a vision, you don't go anywhere. But there is something very powerful than a vision. That is a cause or a purpose. You can have a vision, but a cause is very much more powerful than your vision. And what is a cause? For example, if you go and read Akio Morita or Mitsubishi, I know that AMA has a very strong connect with Japanese. So if you go and read Akio Morita, Sony or Mitsubishi, after Second World War, when they were rebuilding Japan, they were rebuilding their nation out of nationalistic pride, and nation building was happening. They didn't build Sony to make money or Mitsubishi to make money. They're rebuilding Japan. Similarly, when the Americans went to war with Vietnam, the Vietnamese were fighting with bows and arrows and sticks. They couldn't conquer. The Americans couldn't conquer. Nobody could conquer Vietnam. Why is it? Because you're always fighting with a purpose, a cause. When you have a cause of that level, a nation at stake, you never fail. You have a vision, it can fail. Small little things can fail. But a purpose, doing the whole thing for the country, you will never fail. That's what Padsha said. What is good for India is good for Tatas. It is not the other way around. What is good for Tatas is not good for India. It is the other way around. So coming back, when I said Jamshedji Tata was 17 years of age when the first war of independence happened, what was the impact on his little boy? What must be the ideas that going through his mind? There was no social media. He was coming to listening to all those stories of Jhansi Lakshmibai, Tantia Tope, and an young boy at that age must be inspired by nationalistic spirit. So that's what happened. And similarly, thank you. Similarly, what happened was Jamshedji was even there at the first Indian National Congress. I took the fifth one here. Similarly, in 1942, when JRD was there at the August Maidan, when the Quit India movement was called for, JRD was next to the dais with Gandhi. He was half a mind of joining politics. Believe me, JRD started his career in 1924. Why he couldn't study was, his mother was a very patriotic lady. France was overrun by Germany, and his mother wanted JRD to be an officer in the French army. So against his father's wishes, he goes and joins the French army. There was compulsory conscription there, but being an Indian, or the senior-most son, and the primogeniture was there, he could have escaped conscription. But then he preferred to go and join the French army. And what the barracks does to you, again you will have to remember. The barracks keep telling you about patriotism, die for your motherland, and those things. So JRD was there. Similarly, he thought that I may not be better cut out for politics than a businessman. Let me do what I am good at. So he didn't join politics. But here the story is important again. During the NAM, what we call as the non-aligned movement, the whole pattern is we were pro-Russian. Though we are in NAM, we were considered to be pro-Russian. So all the Roorkela, Billai, Durgapur plants, the public sector came about with the Eastern Bloc. So when Bokaro steel plant was coming up, they said, why don't we go and get an American style? So the Americans refused to help us. They said, you are pro-Russian and NAM is totally on the other side of the Cold War. They didn't want to come and help us. So JRD made a special trip to US. He convinced the capitalists there, he convinced the government there to give technology for Bokaro. And he brought up the plan. So at the next AGM, annual general body meeting, one of the shareholders got up and said, sir, they are our competitors. Being head of Tata Steel, how can you go and encourage competitors? So JRD said, first I am an Indian and a patriotic Indian. After that, this comes up. So his view about, he is not looking at it as competition. It's all cooperation that is going on in building a better country. So that is the story there. I'll stop it there. So otherwise, yeah, please, if you have anything, let me know. And Ashish Bhai was asking me about the humility in the Tata Group. One story that immediately came to my mind was there was a gentleman by name Peter Casey. He wrote a book on Tatas, the greatest company in the world. And he stayed at the Taj. And one of the last pages of his book, he narrated an event. He interviewed some of the people at the Taj Hotel. It so happened, Rhodabai Rhodabai, was JRD's sister. She was suffering from cancer and she was on the deathbed. She was living at the Taj. Her husband died a few years earlier. So, on a Parsi New Year, JRD went to see her. And JRD was under immense stress, having lost so many family members and being the head of the family. He's losing his sister. So he was under a lot of stress. He went there to see her. So the lady who was taking care of the room, she came up and said, "Sir, maybe this room is not doing any good to her. Let us move her to the seafront rooms." The seafront rooms are a little expensive than the other rooms in Taj. And inadvertently she said, "We won't charge anything extra for the seafront room." JRD lost his cool. "What do you mean to say that you won't charge extra? You want me to go and stay free of cost there? You think we take money and we don't donate money?" He got so angry under his stress. I think he shouted on her or gave her dressing down to her. The lady must have been in tears and she left the room. 4 o'clock when the duty is over, she has to go home. So when she came out of the Taj Hotel after duty hours, she called for a cab. A car pulls by next to her. And you find JRD in the car. He is with a bouquet of flowers, apologizing to her for having shouted on her. "I shouldn't have done that. Sorry, I was under stress, so much of stress looking at my sister's situation. I'm very sorry. I don't want you to ruin your evening today." So he drove her to her house, dropped her at home and apologized to her again, and then he went. So same stories I can tell you about Mr. Tata, Ratan Tata also. Any number of stories. So we can go on. So
जैसे आपको शायद एथिक्स से भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ करना हुआ, ऐसा कोई आपके लाइफ में ये डिफ़िकल्टीज फेस हुई?
No, so far I have never come across an ethical question in the archives.
Okay, sir.
See, I'll tell you the truth. I have never lasted more than 2 years in any company.
More than 2 years, okay.
So, surprisingly, after joining Tata's, I completed 23 years. So, the biggest challenge that I keep asking is everything going correct? If I have a doubt, I actually go and ask. Every time there is a doubt, I would go and ask, and then they used to come out in brilliant colors. And if you come to my archives, 99.99% of the documents are open to the general public. There is nothing which is very secret. The only thing that we don't give sensitive is there were a couple of defense documents that JRD penned. So why should I give the defense documents to the public? Let them go and procure it from the defense archives. I never had a challenge. The challenge comes from some unethical people. That's why I never put up my catalog on my website. The moment I put up my catalog, they try and search for something, some loophole or some situation. They want to create something out of it. So we avoid that. But if you trust us and if you come to us, there's nothing which is secret here. I think that can happen only with few companies in this country. How many companies are willing to allow you access to the annual reports which are in the public domain? Lots of companies won't give you your annual reports. My entire annual reports are scanned and they're open for you. Anytime, anything is given. What is in the archives?
If you can share about how to keep the archives, to keep the physical copies and not to, how expensive it is to keep the digital copies, what you shared with me. I think it will be helpful for
Yeah.
people to know.
The physical copy is much more cheaper than maintaining a digital copy. We think that digital copy is very cheap than the physical copy. The first thing is that most of the copies which we inherited, other than the last 10, 15 years, most of them are physical copies. Only in the last 10, 20 years we are having at the digital ones. Even the West has no clue. I've been to so many seminars and these places. They have no clue how to archive a digital copy. I'll tell you, if there is a letter which is sent out and that letter somebody forwards it to somebody else, a 2 KB letter can end up as a 2 GB letter. The number of forwards it goes through. Which one you have to keep? Like we have a priority thing on the system. Unless they come up with an idea to be archived, I think Microsoft or somebody will have to come up with that idea. This letter has to be archived. Otherwise, it's next to impossible to maintain a digital copy. There will be too many. And coming to the physical ones, as I said, when we are digitizing all my old records, the manuscripts are very difficult to be OCR, optical character recognition. The printed machine things can be optical character recognition. So they will have to be scanned in TIFF format, then converted into PDF or TXT, then pushed into a search engine so that you can do the Boolean operator and search. At the end of the day, today I have 48 TB of material on my server. Now this 48 TB material, when we bought our first server or the storage, 8 years down the line, the IT experts considered it as zero value because the machines change so fast. They say you'll have to replace the machine. If I don't replace the machine, the DAT drives cannot be read in future. Like your floppy disk to CD drive to your now pen drives. The old floppy disk. Do you have my machine doesn't have a CD drive on this. So in future, the whatever storage we are doing, we will have to keep on changing it to the higher level every 8 years. If you don't do it, the old machines can't be read. That is the biggest challenge. So your 2 crores of 2 TB machine becomes zero every 8 years. And you will have to keep on changing it. That's why I said TIFF format. TIFF is a very high resolution format, takes lot of disk space. Why not PDF and why not JPEG? As you move from one format to the other formats tend to lose sheen. TIFF is the only one which maintains the originality. So ideally TIFF format you will have to keep moving from the other. And then to maintain a hard copy in temperature and humidity control is one challenge. But majority of the time, if you are in a good climate, I think the ambient temperature is good enough. We shouldn't do too much of things. Once you move into temperature and humidity, then you can't go back to normal temperatures. You can't spike the paper. So either maintain it at ambient temperatures and leave it like that. They last for 100 years, but if you want it for more, then the human intervention, which is more dangerous. What we think is good today, 20 years down the lane, they'll say it is harmful to you. 20 years back, we used to use naphthalene bricks. We used to put naphthalene balls in our almirahs. Today it is prohibited. So things keep changing. Anything else?
Before independence. So, if I wanted to know that after independence, this property was legalized and validated the ownership of the Tata group, the Tata
Lands.
like land and hospitals. If they new government,
No.
Union of India also continued that private ownership.
So what happened was when we had the TISS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Tatas believe in starting something and handing it over to the government. They won't run it. So after a few years, when they gave it to the government, there is a tripartite agreement between the Tatas, TISS and government, saying that because it is started by Tatas, the land is given by us and financially supported by us, two of our directors will be on the board of TISS. So, and the Tata name has to be preserved. For example, in my archives, you are a private collector, you have so much about Tatas. If you donate something to me, when I take it, I will put it under your name from the collections of so and so. Similarly, if you go to the Chhatrapati Shivaji Museum, the Prince of Wales, you will find from the collections of Sir Ratan Tata, from the collections of Dorabji Tata. So that is a simple, what we say, legitimate thing which we ask from people. Government. Like TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It is handed over. Today we don't run it. The entire thing is run by government. But two of our directors are there. Similarly with Tata Memorial Cancer Hospital. So that is the way Tatas perform. Even the cancer hospitals which Mr. Tata is building in so many areas, slowly once they stand on their feet, the idea is to hand it over to them. They will have to do it. Just because we built it, they don't expect us to run it for the rest of our thing.
Thank you very much, Narla Sahab. On behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, we are sincerely thankful to you for taking us into the very different world as compared with modern times. Tata is Tata, no doubt about that. And thank you very much to all of you for giving patience hearing. We have put seat on every chair of yours. We would request you to kindly fill in that. And thank you so much once again. Thank you so much.